Everyone really must be leaning into you about the game situation.
Yeah. For me, you know what? The game situation was disappointing to me. For him to come back and appear to be unappreciative was incredible to me.
Somebody put my head on a stripper's body, bro. Like, and I want to say it was 50, bro. But like, what? Like, get the out of here. Crazy, bro.
Me and Game's mom, we started a male exotic club. Jayceon danced there maybe twice, and 50 Cent will not let him forget it.
Actually, he said that he wanted me to meet his mom at his mom's club. And when we got there, I didn't know it was a strip club.
Now, Arena, was JT just as fascinated with this guy's moves as you were?
Yeah, and he made a little comment that he was going to show me what he has later on.
The Game may have once been one of the top rappers in the industry, but for a few years now, fans and critics alike see him as a case of wasted potential. And the truth is, a lot of the blame seems to fall squarely on his shoulders. From being distracted by petty beefs to indulging in unnecessary antics, The Game has burned more bridges than most rappers would dare to.
The game situation was disappointing to me. I worked hard on that project, man. I recorded 6 records on that album. For him to come back and appear to be unappreciative was incredible to me.
One of the most damaging things to his image, though, is what many consider one of the ultimate violations in hip-hop, being inauthentic. Back in the day, one of the unspoken rules of the culture was to always keep it real. There was no faking the funk, especially about being tough. That kind of posturing could ruin your credibility for good. Now, to be fair, it's not that The Game didn't come from a rough background. He grew up in a life surrounded by the streets, with his family deep in that world. But what's hurt him is his tendency to embellish, exaggerate, or outright lie about his past in an attempt to seem harder than he actually is. A prime example of this is the long-standing rumor that The Game was a male stripper before he got into the rap game. For years, people have talked about it, and at one point, a photo even surfaced showing him wearing what looked like a thong. Naturally, The Game went on the defensive, swearing up and down that the photo was fake and photoshopped. He even went as far as claiming that 50 Cent was behind it, trying to tarnish his image during their beef.
Somebody put my head on a stripper's body, bro. Like, and I want to say it was 50, bro. But like, what? Like, get the out of here. That's crazy, bro.
But as much as The Game tried to deny it, people who knew him started speaking out. One of the most damning confirmations came from The Game's own stepfather, Hodari Sababu. In a documentary about the history of hip-hop in Compton, California, Sababu shared some details about The Game's past that The Game himself probably wishes had stayed buried. According to Sababu, he and The Game's mother used to run a male exotic dance club. The idea behind the club was to give guys fresh out of jail a way to make money. Many of these men were buff from working out in prison, but because of their criminal records, they couldn't easily find jobs. Sababu explained that the club was a way for these guys to make a living, and some of them could make up to $1,000 a week dancing.
Me and Game's mom, we started a male exotic club. What we used to do, we used to get guys that's just come fresh out of jail. A lot of these guys can't go and fill out an application and get a job, but hey, if they look good, they've been working out, we put them on, man. We get them, we get them $1,000 a week dancing.
Here's where things get interesting. Sababu revealed that The Game, whose real name is Jayceon Taylor, danced at the club maybe twice. Sababu even acknowledged that 50 Cent has never let The Game live it down.
Jayceon danced there maybe twice, and 50 Cent will not let him forget it.
In the documentary, Sababu shared that he had advised The Game to just own up to his past and not get too worked up about it being brought to light. Other rappers and figures in hip-hop have also called him out, further damaging his street cred. For instance, Kodak Black once joked during a live session that 50 Cent basically grabbed The Game off the pole and changed his entire life.
What? What'd he say?
What'd he say?
He said, 50, grab that guy off the pole like I'ma change your whole life.
50 Cent himself has brought this up multiple times, using G-Unit radio to clown The Game for his rumored stripper past. Then there's the infamous butterfly tattoo. Back in the day, the game decided to get a large butterfly inked on his face. Needless to say, the tattoo quickly became a source of ridicule, especially for someone trying to maintain a hardcore image. Eventually, he had it reworked into a star and the LA Dodgers logo, but even that move didn't stop the jokes. When asked why he changed it, the game gave what many saw as a weak excuse, claiming that the tattoo artist didn't draw the butterfly right, so he decided to cover it up.
Why did you decide to do the LA over the butterfly?
Cause I got it when I was in New York, but he ain't do it right, you know what I'm saying? And it ended up looking like a
Fans weren't buying it. Many said they would have respected him more if he had just kept it real, admitting that the butterfly tattoo might have had personal meaning at the time, but later realizing it sent the wrong message. Instead of owning up to it, his explanation came across as another attempt to dodge criticism. And the tattoo isn't the only thing that's made people question the game's authenticity. He's also been accused of recycling the same lines in his so-called freestyles over the years. Hip-hop fans are quick to notice patterns, and they didn't hesitate to call him out for using the same bars repeatedly in what he tried to pass off as off-the-top raps.
Red rose, white ceiling. Nobody, no casket, just blood spilling. I ain't a dead president, preparing shit. Red rose, white ceiling. Nobody, no casket, just blood spilling. I ain't a dead president. Red rose, white ceiling. Nobody, no casket, just blood spilling. I ain't a dead president.
To make matters worse, his appearance on dating TV shows further chipped away at his street cred.
Yeah, actually he said that he wanted me to meet his mom at his mom's club. And when we got there, I didn't know it was a strip club.
Now, Irina, was JT just as fascinated with this guy's moves as you were?
Yeah, and he made a little comment that he was going to show me what he has later on.
Now, here's the thing. No one's denying that the game grew up in the streets. His background and upbringing are well documented, and there's no doubt that he's seen his share of hardships. Born on November 29, 1979, in Compton, California, to George Taylor and Lynette Baker, Jayceon was destined to face hardships early on. Both of his parents were involved with the Crips, a notorious Los Angeles-based gang, and struggled with drug addiction. His father was also guilty sisters, which led to Jayceon being placed in foster care when he was just 7 years old. Tragedy struck again when he was 13. His older brother Jevin was fatally shot. At 15, Jayceon was reunited with his mother, but his home life remained far from stable. In a revealing interview with MTV News correspondent Sway Calloway in October 2006, the game described his family as dysfunctional. His older half-brother George Taylor III, better known as the rapper Big Phase 100, was a leader of the Cedar Block Piru Bloods in West Compton. Jayceon attended Compton High School, where he played basketball and participated in track. But his extracurricular activities extended beyond sports. During high school, Jayceon found himself in trouble with the law, serving 2 prison terms. He first went to prison for stealing a car in the 11th grade and was locked up again a few months later.
So I went to jail twice as a teenager, and the other times I think I just got lucky and slid through without detection. And then I went to jail for like stealing the car in the 11th grade, and I ended up going to the county. That was my first time in the county.
Despite these setbacks, he managed to graduate and even earned a basketball scholarship to Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. Unfortunately, his college career was cut short when he was expelled for drug possession. Back in Compton, Jayceon started dealing drugs and officially joined the Bloods alongside his half-brother. Gangbanging was a way of life for him, and he embraced it fully.
But gangbanging was always like first for me, because it's just, I don't know, it was tough. It was hard for me. I liked it. I really loved it, and it was all that I knew.
But everything changed after a fateful night in 2001. According to the game, his brother Big Phase 100 had strict rules about their drug operations, one of which was to stop selling after midnight so everyone could rest. However, one night, Game decided to break this rule. He was alone at the trap house when there was a knock at the door. Looking through the peephole, he saw a familiar face, a regular customer, so he let his guard down and decided to make a sale.
And so one of the first rule was just never to sell after midnight, because I mean, it just ain't that important. We get as much off as we can during the day. At midnight, we shut down operation. Everybody get a good night's rest, and we back up at the first knock. So when I looked through the door, I could see it's him. So I'm like, I'll serve this, and then I'm gonna just kill it after this. But let me make this little 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 if you want an 8-ball or something like that.
But when he opened the door, 2 other men appeared with guns drawn. Game's gun was on the kitchen table, and a struggle ensued as one of the intruders went for it. They wrestled on the ground, and Game seemed to have the upper hand until the intruder managed to pull the trigger, shooting him in the chest. Not realizing he had been shot, Game tried to run down the hallway to grab his shotgun, but more bullets hit him, one in the leg and another in the stomach.
Get the edge on him in the tussle and retrieve the gun from him. But he felt it coming, and so his finger was around the trigger of it. So he pulled the trigger, and then I got shot in the chest. And I start running down the hallway to get my shotgun, my sawed-off from the back room, and he shot twice more, and I got shot in the ankle, and then I got shot in the stomach too.
Lying on the floor, Game thought his life was over and braced himself for the final shot. But when he opened his eyes, the attackers were gone, likely thinking they had got him. Summoning all his strength, Game managed to call 911.
Give me the dome shot or the kill, the shot. So I just closed my eyes and I was like, I really told myself, like literally told myself, I was like, damn, so this is it.
That night, he was rushed to the hospital and spent days in a coma. When he woke up, he knew he had to make a change. While recovering in the hospital from those brutal gunshot wounds he sustained in late 2001, Game made a pivotal decision. He told his brother to go out and buy all the classic hip-hop albums. Over the next 5 months, while healing and reflecting, he studied those influential rap records meticulously. This intense study period became the foundation for his transformation into the rapper we all know today. However, instead of focusing on growing as an artist, he often got caught up in unnecessary beefs and drama, denying his past, lying about certain situations, and projecting a tough image while making questionable moves, have led many to call him a fake gangster rapper. A prime example of this is the infamous Instagram post where he shared a photoshopped picture of himself with Tupac Shakur, suggesting that they had met. Fans quickly realized the image was fake, and the backlash was swift.
What? You photoshopped yourself on someone else and put a picture out with you and Pac. It's Pac, but it's not you.
People accused the Game of trying to deceive his followers. When confronted about it on VladTV, he claimed that he never intended to trick anyone and simply wanted to show appreciation for Tupac, whom he considers one of the greatest rappers ever. However, the damage to his credibility was already done. Then there's the ever-changing story of how many times he got shot. It's like he can't keep his story straight, which only adds to the skepticism around him. Over the years, the details of these stories have changed, making it difficult for fans and critics alike to discern the truth. Then there was the incident where he claimed that Kanye West did more for him in a few weeks than Dr. Dre did throughout his career. This statement was not only controversial but also blatantly false, considering that Dr. Dre is the very reason the Game's career took off in the first place. Without Dre's mentorship and influence, it's unlikely that the Game would have reached the heights he did. Such statements undermine the contributions of those who played pivotal roles in his success and make him appear ungrateful and disingenuous.
Heard him say Kanye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dr. Dre did my entire career, right?
I interpret that as him being vulnerable.
I interpret that as him lying.
In addition to these issues, the Game has faced multiple accusations of scamming young, unsigned artists out of thousands of dollars, promising them placements on a mixtape and promotion for their music. He allegedly took their money without delivering on his promises. And then there's the Game's many beefs in the industry. Let's start with the most notorious one, his feud with 50 Cent. Back in 2003, 50 Cent shook the entire industry with the release of his debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', as Eminem's protege. Dr. Dre, seeing 50 Cent's success, decided it was time to bring up an artist of his own. That same year, Dre discovered a kid handing out mixtapes throughout Compton and decided to sign him to Aftermath. This rapper was The Game. Dr. Dre worked in the studio with The Game for several months, but it wasn't until August of 2003 that The Game and 50 Cent finally linked up in the studio. They collaborated on a track called So Hard for the June at Radio 3's Taking It to the Streets mixtape, which marked The Game's G-Unit debut on Wax. After several months of trying to generate buzz for The Game, music executive Jimmy Iovine came up with an idea that would skyrocket The Game's career. Since 50 Cent was the hottest rapper in the world at the time, Dre and Jimmy thought it would be a great idea for The Game to become an official member of G-Unit. Dre pitched the idea to 50 Cent, and soon enough, The Game was officially part of the group.
And Yayo home.
Early 2005 rolled around, and this is where the relationship between 50 Cent and The Game began to sour. During this period, The Game started dissing other artists and DJs for no apparent reason. This forced 50 Cent to cover for him, calling these people to patch things up so they wouldn't end The Game's young career.
And his way of patching it up was I don't have a problem with Jay-Z or Fat Joe or anybody. And it was like, I'm busy patching this thing up that you just did, and you come back and you say you don't have a problem even with the people that I have issues with.
Tensions rose further when The Game wanted his debut album, The Documentary, to come out before 50 Cent's second studio album. This led to 50 delaying his album until March, leaving him with a very bad taste in his mouth. The breaking point in their beef came when The Game publicly stated that he had no issues with Nas, Fat Joe, and Jadakiss, all of whom were 50's enemies at the time. 50 Cent saw this as a major act of disloyalty. During an interview with Ed Lover on Power 105.1, 50 Cent went on a tangent about The Game and officially kicked him out of G-Unit live on the air, and what would follow is an exchange of back and forth dices. The Game's departure from G-Unit put a significant strain on his relationship with Dr. Dre. With millions of dollars at stake, Dre had to make a business decision that essentially sabotaged his work with The Game. However, The Game proved his resilience with the release of Doctor's Advocate in 2006, just a year after his debut. He managed to deliver a stellar album without Dre's guiding hand or 50 Cent's contributions, proving to the world that he could stand on his own. Despite the public fallout, it turns out that Dre and The Game maintained a healthy relationship behind the scenes. By the time the Red album was released in 2011, The Game revealed that Dre was still giving him vital feedback.
Dre always told me, no matter what happens, no matter what is said in the media, me and you are always going to be the same as we were the last time we had an in-person conversation.
For years, The Game's loyalty to Dr. Dre remained unshaken. Despite no longer being officially signed to him, The Game showed an unwavering commitment to Dre, unlike anything he had exhibited for anyone else in the industry. He admitted there were tense moments between them, but his gratitude always overshadowed the friction. In interviews, he often boasted about his ability to call Dre at a moment's notice. However, if he tried to make that call today, it would likely go unanswered. The Game has systematically ruined his ties with Dr. Dre and the entire Aftermath family. His downfall could have been avoided if he hadn't been so controlled by emotion in an industry that demands strategy and careful thought. When Dre released the Compton LP and The Game appeared on only one track, some fans found it odd. However, the situation became more glaring when Dre was set to oversee the Super Bowl halftime show in 2022. It was expected that Dre would perform a career-spanning set featuring many artists he had mentored. On the big night, he brought out Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Anderson .Paak, Kendrick Lamar, and 50 Cent. Meanwhile, The Game was left on the sidelines, watching from his own city. Initially, The Game kept things civil and acted unbothered by the snub. However, knowing his mindset, it seemed only a matter of time before his true feelings spilled out. Eventually, he admitted that it did get to him. This admission flipped a switch, opening the floodgates for The Game to cross a line he had never crossed before, discrediting Dr. Dre. The rapper, who had once penned a heartfelt tribute to Dre on his second album, now downplayed Dre's impact on his career and life as if it were insignificant. Soon, he was claiming that Kanye West, a man he had previously beefed with over explicit lyrics about Kanye's then-wife Kim Kardashian, had done more for his career than Dre ever did. The world collectively rolled its eyes at this comment, and those who witnessed The Game's early days with Aftermath were quick to call him out. By publicly disparaging the man who had given him a major break, The Game effectively burned his most valued bridge in hip-hop. He has since tried to walk back his comments, attempting to save face, but the damage was done. In the aftermath of the Super Bowl snub, The Game internalized a lot of animosity towards Dre. He even used this bitterness to justify some of his actions, like claiming that his diss towards Eminem was just another way to get back at Dre. If this were an isolated incident, perhaps Dre could have let it go. But it was part of a larger pattern of behavior that ultimately destroyed Dre's respect for The Game. The Game's attempts to undermine Kendrick Lamar were another factor in Dre's distancing. Saluted by Kendrick and Black Boy Fly as a rapper he looked up to, The Game was present when the torch was passed to Kendrick by Snoop Dogg. Over the years, Kendrick collaborated with The Game on several tracks, and it seemed like they were on good terms. However, at every turn, The Game appeared to downplay Kendrick's skills, whether out of competitiveness or jealousy. Once again, The Game let alcohol influence his actions, fostering potential problems with another of Dre's proteges. This, along with his refusal to stand by the West Coast during Kendrick's beef with Drake, contributed to Dre's gradual distancing. While Dre provided the intro to Not Like Us, The Game took Drake's side and wasn't present at Kendrick's pop-up show that symbolized West Coast unity. This absence raised questions and added to the reasons why Dre no longer respects him. Despite the game's attempts to control his narrative, it's easy to see why Dre has distanced himself. The game has dissed nearly every major rapper associated with Aftermath, and his unpredictable nature has proven hazardous. His disloyalty and ungratefulness have made it clear to Dre that maintaining ties with the game is more trouble than it's worth. Unfortunately, the game's habit of trying to rewrite his own history has only hurt him in the long run. He's undeniably talented and has contributed some great music to the culture, but his credibility has taken a hit over the years. Instead of being remembered solely as a great rapper, his legacy is now tied to these controversies and the perception that he's more focused on keeping up appearances than staying true to himself.